Hi, I'm Melissa, and I wanted to make this video pretty much about the light in my depression. And I wanted to make this video because I know that a lot of people are and have dealt with depression. On a number scale, about 25% of Americans deal with depression, and every 15 minutes someone kills themselves in America. And so that's about 35,000 deaths a year due to suicide. And I mean, there could be a number of reasons. Everyone, who goes down that path of attempting suicide or actually succeeding in suicide, there's different reasons, individual reasons, but a lot of it is caused by depression, and depression will isolate you. It'll make you feel like you're the only person going through this and that you're not worthy of anything. And when you feel like that, you isolate yourself from people. Even when you're physically with people, you isolate yourself in your mind. So I just wanted to share my story, in a sense, and also share the enlightenment that I have gained from the darkness. So let's go. Since I was a small girl, I grew up with my mom and my dad, but they weren't together. I had both of them in my life, but I would stay with my mom, and I would visit my dad, or my dad would come and visit me. And my dad would always tell me things like I was a princess, and he would, get down to my level and look me in my eyes, and he would be like, Antoinette, this was made for you, this world, like, look around, it was made for you. And he would say that, like, specifically to, if we went to the Jungle Gym or the candy store, it was always like, this is yours. And I always believed that. I believed it so much that I would actually, like, kick kids out of places because I felt like I ran the world. And that's the kind of confidence that my dad had given me as a child, just being 3, 4, 5. And but one day, my parents couldn't get along anymore and agree about, terms with me, and whatever was going on between them. And so visitation just stopped. And I wasn't really allowed to ask questions about it. I just had to, okay, he's just not in your life anymore. And then one day, I would say a couple years later, I was 7 years old, roughly, and my mom was getting me ready, and she was just like, you're not going to school today, you're going to the doctor. And I hated the doctor. Like, I smacked a nurse once. Like, I hate the doctor. And I was like, why are you going to the doctor? And she said, you have to go get tested to see if your father is your dad because he doesn't think you're his. And I was just like, that didn't compute with me. Like, that didn't make sense to me. Like, he doesn't think I'm his? Like, no, that's not true. My dad loves me. He thinks I'm a princess, and he thinks the world of me. So for me at that time, that was just like, it ripped like this huge hole in me. And from that day forth, this hatred for my dad just grew. And since I hated him, I would start to hate myself because I could see him in me. I developed this obsession with the mirror. I would always be in the mirror, like I would take toilet paper and put it in my gap to see what I would look like without a gap, because my gap came from my father. Like I just wanted to eliminate everything that reminded me of him. I hated that I was black because he was black and I'm biracial. My dad is African American and my mom is Irish, Scottish, Dutch. So I was abandoned by my father, and I just wanted to look like my mom because my mom loved me. My mom took care of me. I wanted straight hair like her. I wanted white skin like her. I didn't want my dad's teeth. I didn't want my dad's nose. And I just got this obsession of just trying to glue my hair down because it was curly and black. So I started to just hate myself without really thinking about it. It was just self-hate. So yeah, that self-hate just grew with my hatred for my dad abandoning me, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And as I began to grow and get older, I would just think about how horrible I felt for being abandoned by the one person that wasn't supposed to abandon me. But I had been told that I wasn't allowed to feel what I was feeling inside. And what I was feeling inside was, I just want to die. Like, this pain hurts so bad. I don't want to be here anymore. All I think about is my pain. And I remember I just used to always think about dying. I would meditate on it. I would daydream about it. I would go to sleep and dream about it. But I never had the courage to actually harm myself in a brutal way. Because I hate pain. I hate physical pain and I hate emotional pain. I know some people who deal with depression, it actually pushes them to hurt themselves physically so that they can escape the emotional pain, or for whatever reason. I don't know, because I never had the courage to go down that path. But I would do things like throw myself against the wall, or hit my legs, but just not in a brutal way, because I couldn't take that pain either. But sometimes I would just look in the mirror and just want to like throw my head into it, and so I knew I couldn't do that, so I would just throw myself against the walls when I was sure like my mom wasn't home, or just where no one could hear me. And sometimes that, well, usually all the time, when I couldn't bring myself to do it, I would just cry. I would just cry, and it felt like I was gonna cry myself to death. And I would just like exhaust myself and go to sleep, hoping that I wouldn't wake up. And then I'd wake up, and then it was like doing it all over again. And I didn't tell, this was like a secret. This was something that I didn't broadcast. I kept it in journals. It came out in poems and writing, but whenever I tried to express how I was feeling, I was told I wasn't allowed to feel that way because I had a good life, and I did. I had a great life. I had a mom who took care of me, who loved me, who fed me, who clothed me, who got me the toys I wanted, and all of that I had been so grateful for. But I couldn't shake the fact that I was feeling like this inside. It's not something that No one can replace a father. Nothing can replace a father. Nothing can, in the world, can feel that, you know? Especially when you've had it and then it was taken away with no explanation. So yeah, being told that I couldn't feel that way, I had to just keep it to myself and keep it quiet. And it was like being in a battlefield every single day against myself, and I couldn't call on help. I had to always just be strong. But I felt so weak. And I was always afraid that I wasn't going to survive me. And just for a side note, that's something I wanted to say, is that a lot of people don't share that they're going through a depression because they feel like it's invalid. And what I mean by that is some people have this, and I've had this perspective before myself. You're like, well, I don't have the worst life, you know. Sally down the street has a way worse life than me, so I can't express what I'm going through because that would make it seem like I'm just complaining. But I just want to say that no pain is invalid. Your pain matters. Don't swallow it. Don't keep it to yourself, because when you do that, then you isolate yourself. And you isolate yourself by not opening up about it. And what it can do is slowly kill you and slowly bring you to a state of killing yourself. Because you feel like your pain is invalid, or it's a burden that isn't that heavy, but you're putting a burden on somebody that didn't need to be put. You know, I get that psychology. I've been there. But I just want to encourage you to know that you matter and what you're going through matters. Don't keep it to yourself. If it is eating you alive and you need to get it out, please do. I used to I would Google what's the less painful way to die, and hoping that I would find like a different, more easier way, but it'd always be like taking a bunch of pills. And there had been so many times where I had been so close to doing that, and like nobody would know, because I would do it in the privacy of my room or in my bathroom, and I'd really be like on the edge of wanting to take myself out and just couldn't bring myself to do it. And like I said, I would just cry and cry. And when you desire death, but you're not able to give it to yourself, it's like a prison, and you're just stuck in it. And it's like, I can't even do that, so I just have to suffer for the rest of my life. So that's how it felt. And just some of the things that I would tell myself, we all have our inner monologues that we tell ourselves, and they were really not good things. And they just became engraved in my self-talk. And so, but I learned how to hide how I was feeling, learned how to look like on the outside, when I'm doing normal day-to-day things like going to school or family functions or whatever, just no one knew that I felt this way. You couldn't tell. And then as I got older into high school, I I started to get into drinking and smoking. Trying it, when I tried it, it was just like an escape. I was able to just lose my mind, and I remember just loving being able to just lose it, to not care about anything. And then that led into doing Thiz, and Thiz is basically ecstasy. But we called it Thiz because it was part of the hyphy movement, which is basically the rap scene of the Bay Area, and it was all about Thiz or die. So it was like a party drug. And the first time I did it, I was just like on another level. Like, I've never felt so happy in my life. And like, I didn't care about anything. It was always like, oh yeah, we're gonna go smack, and I don't have to think about like how I was feeling inside. Like, it was just party. And I was still able to like get my schoolwork done, and still like hide the fact that I was living this way, that I was going down this road. Yeah, I used to just love it because I used to crave a different reality, and always wanted to trip out and not be in the current state of mind, like the normal state of mind. Always wanted to see a different realm, like a different reality, and that's why that was so enticing to me and fun for me. And I just, of course, that just leads to spinning out of control. And luckily for me, I didn't seem like I was addicted, but I did it every week. Like, I did it more than I should have. Like, and I'm so grateful that I don't have like serious brain damage. Like, sometimes I still feel like I'm really like an airhead sometimes. And sometimes I think it's because I did so much E in the past. But other than that, like, I'm good. So yeah, I just started to just care about partying. That's all that I cared about. I started losing interest in school. And that didn't, after some time, I started to feel like, okay, this isn't working. This isn't helping me. And I really just started getting even more depressed. But then I would just still party to try to escape that feeling. And the thing is that it's just temporary. And once you come down from the high, it's like everything you're running away from is still there. So now I'm going to switch over and tell a story of my first encounter with the light in the darkness. Check it out. I was always really very vocal about being an atheist, because I had a lot of pain in my heart, especially because of my dad. I held on to this hate for him abandoning me, that I saw the world through that lens. And that reality enforced my beliefs that there wasn't a God. Like, especially the way I was feeling inside, it just didn't make sense to me. And the more I learned about the world and the history of the world and our country and what's going on in other countries, it was just like, people are insane if they think there's a God. Like, and I remember I would get really, like, drunk and high, and, like, if someone mentioned God, or if for some reason, like, I stumbled upon the subject, like, I would be one of those people who are, like, vehemently, like, getting into a debate about it, and, like, making fun of you for believing, and just, like, poo-pooing all over you. Like, that was who I was. And one day, it was crazy, because my brother had just come to live with me, and my sister, my older brother, and this was when, like, MySpace was up, and in my MySpace, I had, it says, what's your name, your sex, female, male, your religion, and my religion was atheist, like, it said it on there. And my brother, like, one of the first couple of days he moved in, he was like, what is this, your MySpace saying you're an atheist, and I'm like, yeah, like, I'd say my points or whatever, and he'd be like, where'd you get that from, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, one day you're gonna see, and I was like, okay, David. Alright, yeah, you're crazy. And maybe not even a week later, he, not David, but I was on the phone with my boyfriend at the time, who was my ex, and we had gotten back together, and we were in a long distance relationship. And we were back together for about a couple weeks, and if I'm honest with myself, we only got back together because I was lonely, and I was hurting, and I wanted somebody to be there. I wanted somebody to care about me, so I pretty much reached back into my past and, got back together with him. But we wanted completely different things, and he's a great person. But, like, I was always like, I'm gonna go to Hollywood one day, I'm gonna be a star, and he just wanted, like, the small town life, and so he called me, and he was bold and brave enough to be like, you know what, this isn't gonna work, we want different things. And I begged him not to break up with me, because I knew that if he broke up with me, that I would be back in this hole. And he was just like, I'm sorry, and hung up. And I was outside when I was taking this phone call. And there it was just like, like my soul dropped to my feet. And I remember just wanting to walk into traffic. Like, I didn't know where I was going. I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. I was just crying and so tired of being abandoned. And I just started walking. And I'm crying. My eyes are blurry. I'm crying. And I just start, I'm looking at the sky, and I'm like, why am I here? I don't even know if I was, yelling it out loud. Like, I felt like I lost my mind a little bit. Like, I snapped. I don't know. I was just, asking these big questions. Like, why do I feel like I want to die every day? And I started talking to God. And I didn't even believe in God. And I was even cursing him out. And I'm just saying all these things as I'm walking, and then I trip. And I look down, and it's a Bible. I tripped over a like a hardcover Bible, and it was maroon red with gold pages. And I'm like in a suburban neighborhood. No one's around. You know, it was like a quiet afternoon. And like my goosebumps all over my body. Like it was just too like much of a coincidence. Like after asking all those big questions and cursing God out, I trip on a Bible. And I remember I took it home and I told my brother the story, and he was like, "See, I told you guys, real, da-da-da." And it just pissed me off because, you know, when someone tries to be like, "I told you so," it pisses you off. And so I just, like, I never read it. Like, I put the book up, and like my sister took it back to the owner because there was an address in it. But yeah, I never read it for myself. And I think a year went by. But after that encounter, my heart did open a little bit to the idea of God. And I started to go to church. So what I learned over time about myself is that what the root of my depression was obviously my abandonment. My father abandoning me had become the root of everything I did. Everything I did in my life came from that. Most of who I became and my actions were developed from that pain. And we all do that. We all have our own, reason. And so I didn't really have self-respect. If you have self-hate, then you have a lack of self-respect. And, so I didn't really know how to demand respect from a man. I just wanted a man. Always wanted a man. So I had dated, like, what's the word? I would just, like, serial date. I was a serial dater, I guess. And so, yeah, there was that. And so that adds to more, wounds to deal with. Just by throwing yourself in that fire over and over. And so I'm going to share another story that will demonstrate another light that depression led me to see. Check out. This guy invited me to church, who eventually became my boyfriend. I would go to church and I would start to receive the Word of God, and it would hit my heart in such a way that was like, Jesus was everything I ever was looking for in, having a love of a father and, filling those holes that I have in my heart through partying and sex, different dating all the time and trying to have a man in my life, and just receiving his love and his story. I don't know, it was just like the depths of me knew it was true. And I started to just open up to it, and I gave my life to Christ. I got baptized. But I still dealt with my issues. It wasn't like a wave of the wand and my whole life turned around. Like, I thought that's what it was gonna be. Like, I was expecting that. I was expecting, like, night and day. One of my favorite rappers, Lecrae, I heard him say in an interview once that it takes a moment to take someone out of slavery, but it takes a lifetime to take the slavery out of the person. And so that's what was going on with me. Like, I had been saved, but it was going to be a process to work out the things that I had enslaved myself to. So yeah, I gave my life to Christ, and during that transformation, and the guy that I was with at the time, you know, was broken as well, was a broken person dealing with his own issues. He believes in God, and he helped me to see God and to understand some things. But it was very hypocritical and abusive at some times. And our relationship turned out to be very emotionally and physically abusive. At that time, we had become aware of, you know, like the Illuminati and, you know, some of the things that were going on in the music industry. And, you know, he knew my dreams. He knew that, you know, I wanted to be a rapper. And I had already started pursuing a rap career and even being an actress, you know. And he would just, we would look into these things and we'd be like, dang, you know, like, what's going on? Like, what? The devil's running the game, you know? Like, it's really happening. And he would, like, make me feel bad for still wanting to be in that world. And in a sense, it was like, yeah, I mean, I see what's going on, but, like, this is who I am. And that's where I'm supposed to be, you know? And me just trying to figure that out, I actually started to believe it. I was like, I have to give it up because it's evil, it's self-centered, you know, it's the devil's playground. I was starting to believe that. And in a way, the reason why it felt that way was because I used to want to be famous. Like, that was a legit desire. Like, I wanted to be that one, you know? Because I wanted to receive love from the world. And I wanted to prove everyone who ever left me behind and abandoned me that I have had worth. And so that was always the core of me pursuing my dreams. So that's why I was having that war about it within my soul. But yeah, at this time I felt like I had to give it up. And I wrote a song about it that maybe I'll put out one day. It needs some work, but I got really, really depressed. I got even more depressed. I gave my life to God. You know, I got baptized. I thought everything was going to be great. And then here I am having to give up the one thing that I thought would save me, which was being famous. And so I let myself go. I kind of just gave up on everything. Now I really didn't have anything to live for. I got overweight. I just started smoking weed more with my boyfriend. Got overweight. And it got so bad to the point I was living with him at the time. And it got so bad that I didn't have a reason to get out of bed. Like, I stayed in bed for a straight week. Like, I would just roll over to smoke the blunt and roll back over and go to sleep and hope that I wouldn't wake back up. It had been 5 or 6 days that I didn't get out of bed. Like, just couldn't. And he started to get concerned the last day. And I remember that day I woke up and I was like, this is it. And those of you who have suffered this understand what I mean. Like, there are days where you're like, this is it. I'm gonna do it. I'm done. And that was one of those days where I was just like, yeah, you could feel it in the air. You could feel it in your bones. It's like, you're done. And I remember just thinking like, okay, how am I gonna do it? You know, just thinking of all these ways. And he comes in and he's like, Melissa, you need to get some air. Like, let's go get some air. Let's go take a walk. Like, he's being really sweet. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go anywhere. Ignored him. You know, put my head under the blanket. And then he just kept pressing me to go outside. And so I was like, okay, I need to make it seem like I'm not about to kill myself so that he doesn't try to stop me from killing myself. So I was like, yeah, let's go. He's like, let's go to the hot tub. Because, you know, the apartment complex had a community hot tub. So he convinced me to go to the hot tub. And I go to the hot tub. And we're just sitting in it. And we're not saying much to each other. And I'm trying to act normal. But the only thing I can think about is, you're gonna die today. And I'm trying to draw up the blueprint in my mind. I remember I leaned back in the hot tub. I was looking at the sky. And it started to change. Like the clouds were different. And I'm just watching it change. And this face appears. Like, I kid you not. Like, you know how when you see clouds and you're cloud watching and it's like, oh, that kind of looks like, you know, like a horse. And then there's like a bunny sitting on the horse and he's holding a heart. You know, like you could, you know, make a cute thing out of the cloud puffs. But this was different. This was like a drawing, like with detail, like a pencil sketch of a face of Jesus' face, and his eyes were closed, and it was big, and I was just stuck on it. And my boyfriend at the time was like, he saw that I was stuck on it. He was like joking. He was like, what do you see, Jesus? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And so he turns around, because, you know, we're just facing each other in hot tub, and he turns around to look at what I'm looking at, and it's gone. And I was just like, guess I'm not gonna die today. Oh my God, I'm crying because, oh God, it's real. It's just crazy how the pain was still there. All my pain was still there. But my plan had changed in an instant. In an instant. Just by seeing his face. For me, that moment was like, keep holding on, Melissa. Just keep holding on. I know it doesn't make sense right now. I know all you can think about is dying. I know you feel like you have nothing to live for. But just look at me. Just look at me. And hold on. And so that kept me alive that day. Because I was really done. More than I had ever been before. And I'll never forget that day. So there is another story that is really crucial to understanding how low I had fallen in my life, and the reality of how I really could be dead if it wasn't for my God. So I had come to a point where I accepted Christ, but I wasn't really changing. I felt like I wasn't changing at the speed that I had expected to change. And when I talk about change, I mean actually, not hating myself anymore and just being a good person and not being selfish, and I wasn't realistic with myself about the pace in which it should go. And I got really impatient with myself. And all these things were coming at me with like my job and problems in family. And I was just like, I felt hopeless. I felt like I couldn't help certain people that I wanted to help in my family because of my financial struggles. And still just really hurt. When you live from a place of hurt, you just keep producing pain in your life. And so I basically felt like there was something wrong with me, like since God wasn't changing my life like that. And I felt like, okay, God, I'm never gonna get there. I'm not the one you're saying that I am. I'm not the chosen one that you're saying that I am. You must have made a mistake. So even that, like, that's how bad my mind was against me. So I decided I'm gonna give the devil a try. As crazy as that sounds, that's what I literally did. And I basically called on the devil and called his name, told him that I would serve him if he would make me rich and famous so that I don't have to struggle anymore, so that my family doesn't have to struggle anymore. Because at this point, like, I believed in him too, and nothing happened. Of course, like, I thought, like, light bulbs would shatter and, like, Lucifer would come out of the darkness and yeah, but no, none of that happened. But what did happen was about a week later or less, I got a call from someone, a random person that I hadn't talked to in a long time or hardly even knew, told me that they wanted to help me with my music. And of course I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we met up and he began to tell me his plan. And he was talking about how we were going to be a team and how he had this strategy. And he was basically convincing me to be a stripper. And I was like, I wasn't super opposed to that because I had thought about it before, like way before. I was like, one of the back of my mind things like, maybe I should just do it, especially before I gave my life to Christ. But yeah, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, let's do it. And at that time, I was still overweight, and I was, starting to lose weight, but I was still, chunky and didn't feel good in my skin, and but I still went to go audition at a strip club. Got laughed at, like, the person I auditioned for was just like, come back when you lose some weight, like, and that crushed me, and then I was just like, well, how am I going to make money now? Like, how am I going to make money to do the rap thing and, like, change my life and change my family's life? And then so the person that reached out to help me was like, well, how about prostitution? Have you thought about that? Let's do that. You could definitely do that now. Like, no one cares if you're a little bit fat. And I just was down with it. I was like, let's get it. And I fell so deep into the game. Like, and I kept it a secret. Like, no one knew. No one knew what I was doing. Like, I was doing drugs just to stay numb from it. Like, I stopped going to church, of course. Like, I just fell into the game. And I remember the first time I went to do that, I prayed in the privacy of my heart. I prayed. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. But it was like I threw my conscience out the window. It was kind of like I was just like a zombie or something. Like, I knew I shouldn't have been there. It was like I was watching myself in a dream. But I remember saying a prayer, just saying, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but please protect me. I was in the life for a little while. And then I wanted out. Just to make a long story short, I mean, there's more to the story, of course. I wanted out. This wasn't who I am. And he, of course, didn't want me to get out. My pimp didn't want me to get out. And, I'm telling him, I want to get out. I don't want to do this anymore. And, I was trying to keep some of the money so that I could just go get a legit job and just start over and just be done. And, he was just like, oh, you think it's that easy to just get out of the game kind of thing. I just threw all my stuff out of the car that I was paying for. And I'm like on the street trying to pick up my stuff. And, I'm holding on to the money. And he's like adamant about getting that money back. And I'm adamant about keeping it because I'm trying to start my life over. And he just comes up to me. I literally feel like he was about to hurt me. I didn't know what he was going to do. And it just roared out of me. I was just like, in the name of Jesus, stay away from me. And he stopped. He stopped coming after me. And he was just like, okay. And he kind of paced back and forth a little bit. But he couldn't come towards me. And he was just like, all right. And he got in the car and he drove off and he was just pissed. He was livid. And I picked up my stuff and I went into my home, ran up into my home, and I just melted. Absolutely just melted. Because that was the first time I had actually sobered myself from the whole situation. And it was like the dirt settled and I was able to just see parts of my body just all over the floor. Metaphorically speaking, of course, but I was a mess. And I thought that I could never get up again after that. After that, I was just like, what did I do to my life? Oh my God, it kind of felt like I was playing a game with my life. And I realized that it wasn't a game, if that makes sense. And I was just like, wow, I have to live with this now for the rest of my life. And the way I had always been so hard on myself and always had self-hatred, that wasn't good for me. Like, I had to fight falling deeper than I had ever been from the start. But then I remembered what happened when I got out. I remembered that I still had one more option. I had Jesus, and I called on him, and he protected me. And so I started going back to church, and I started just getting deeper into understanding his word and understanding his love and prayer. And I realized that he was still there. That he was still there. That there's nowhere you can go where I won't follow. You gave your life to me. You are mine. And I will always look for you. I will always be your helping hand if you call on me, if you let me. And so that had been the lowest place I'd been voluntarily. Actually walking into the fire with my eyes open, and what I learned about being so low in reality and in spirit is that it led me right into his arms, right into Jesus's arms, right exactly where I needed to be so that I can actually see who he is, what kind of love, the capacity of his love. It strengthened my faith. It strengthened my faith to where now it's just unshakable. Like, I should be dead. I got out of the game without a scratch. I've been in places where I could have been killed, where I could have overdosed, just I could have been kidnapped and missing and so many things, and he kept me. He kept me. And now I really just feel like unstoppable. Like no darkness can keep me from my God. So I just really wanted to encourage you, if you feel like you can't make it, or you feel like you're not worth it, or you messed up and there's no getting back to even square one at least. Please, after hearing my story, know that you can keep going, that there is hope for you, that there is restoration, there is purpose for your pain, there's purpose for your life. The very fact that you are breathing is a miracle, and is permission from God. It is the very sign that he believes in you still. The fact that you're breathing means he still believes in you. And I had been, wondering what is life worth? What is the meaning of life? What am I going to do with my life? And the only thing that really has meaning is helping each other, encouraging each other, really going to the lengths and laying your life down for your brothers and sisters. It's something that Jesus said. There's no greater love than this, than to lay your life down for your brothers and sisters. And so I wanted to share my story without shame, just truth, in hopes that it'll encourage you, hopes that it'll save a life or change a mind, change your perspective on how you look at yourself. That if I could survive, you can survive. And if you need someone to walk it out with you, I'll be here. So there it is. There's my story. I shared it in hopes to inspire you if you are feeling like there's no hope for you. I had been my worst enemy, and I had tried to take myself out subconsciously through my life. I didn't have the courage to actually, cut or, take a bunch of pills, but I was putting myself in situations where I was giving life the opportunity to take me out. And I was blessed enough to be kept and saved from such a situation. And the Bible says no weapon formed against you shall prosper. That means even yourself. If your worst enemy is yourself, they won't even prosper. You won't even prosper against you, because God has a plan for you and you're His, and He's going to, He has the victory already in motion, set for you, ready for you. So just take courage in that alone. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, even if that weapon is yourself. And even if you're struggling with backsliding as a Christian, if you're struggling with feeling like you just can't seem to be an image of Christ, I hope you take courage, inspiration from my story. I basically turned my back on God. I basically handed my life over to the devil, and he still was there for me, and he still kept me safe, and he revealed to me that nothing could ever keep me and God apart. And he still moves in my life. He speaks to me. He shows me things. He inspires me. He still displays his love for me in life, in my heart, in my spirit. You are a child of God. There are amazing things in store for you. Just keep going, keep holding on, and believe in that. And you will see, God will show you, He will bring you to that point where you realize you have the Creator of the universe on your side. Who can be against you? Nothing, baby. Nothing. And that's what I want you to know. That's what I want to share with you today. So yeah, and before I decided to post this video, because as I'm recording this right now, I haven't posted it yet, obviously, and I was afraid. Of course, like, there's fear, like, should I share this? This is pretty heavy, and this, could just be crazy to do. And I wasn't really sure, I was procrastinating on actually putting it up. And then I was on YouTube, and this is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit works. He's alive. He moves. And there's a video on my suggested video list from T.D. Jakes, and it was about the calling to your destiny. And I'm gonna post the link
on the blog, Woe Warriors blog, so you can see it and watch it for yourself if you'd like. I just watched it, and you'll see that it was God's confirmation to say, yes, share your story, and it'll blow you away. This message from Bishop T.D. Jakes. So check that out as well when you have some time, and I'd love to hear, how you were inspired, or I'd love to hear your Woe Warrior stories as well. So send them in, write your comments, subscribe, and until next time, God bless you. Stay strong, Woe Warriors.